Typhoon Kajiki is just south of Hainan Island currently as a Category 3 with winds of 115 miles per hour, gusting to 140, pressure of 960 millibars, and is moving west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. Here's the forecast. We expect it will peak in about 6 hours with winds of 125 miles per hour. It will weaken a little bit before landfall. Landfall expected about 115 miles per hour, and it will rapidly weaken as it moves inland and will dissipate. Here's the wind field. It is quite a large storm. You can see tropical storm force winds over about half of Hainan Island right now. The southern side of Hainan Island is getting very, very high wind gusts of about 130 miles per hour currently. But you can also see those hurricane and major hurricane force winds are pretty small with relative to the storm size. In our watches and warnings, we have tropical storm warnings in effect for the southern and western coast of Hainan Island, typhoon warning for Vietnam right there with tropical storm warnings extending about 100 miles north and south, and then watches a little bit beyond that. Here is the wind threat. It's just really a distribution of how heavy the wind is going to be. Maximum expected wind gusts on land are very high, I believe about 140 to 150 miles per hour. But the southern side of Hainan Island is getting much higher than baseline tropical storm force winds. They are gusting well into the hundreds. Here are our chances. We get 100% category 1, 2, 3. It's already reached that. 40% of reaching category 4 intensity. It could still happen at a 1% of category 5. I think we're too close to landfall at this point. At landfall, the chances are slightly scamped a little bit. I think this is going to weaken a little bit before landfall, but probably still a category 3 landfall. Overall danger, we are giving a 7, which is major. The wind threat, we are giving an 8. Maximum expected wind gusts on land are 140 to 150 miles per hour, which could qualify at 9. I'm not quite sure. Rainfall threat, we're giving an 8. Maximum rainfall, I believe, is about 25 inches. Storm surge, we're giving a 6. The storm isn't super large, and it's not like super strong, so we're not expecting storm surge really to be that high, but still fairly significant. Probably about 6 feet. And storm size, we're giving a 6. It is a little bit larger than your average storm, and it is going to grow a little bit before it makes landfall. We'll probably get up to about a 7 before it actually makes landfall. But the storm is quite dangerous, mostly because of the wind and the rainfall threat. 150 miles an hour on land is absolutely nothing to scoff at. That's very impressive and also very, very dangerous. Here's the other agencies. JTWC, JMA, and GFS are all behind at 110 miles per hour. They're still going with category 2. However, us and Force 13 are going with 115 because you can see in the top left there that eye is poking out in those recent frames. So yeah, let's go ahead and figure out why the GFS is at 110 miles an hour, shall we? Here's the GFS. That says 952, but they have it lower than that. They have it at 964 for once the pressure reads lower than it actually is. But peaking there at 940, which is a category 4 for this type of storm, making landfall at 955, probably about 120 miles per hour. Yeah, it just dies immediately once it makes landfall. H-Wharf, I believe, is going with 952 millibars at peak and also at landfall. I don't know if this will make landfall at its peak. That was the initial thought, but it's moved closer to Hainan Island than expected, so yeah, that could have an effect. HAFSA, they're at 970 currently. I don't know what they actually have it at, but that says 970. Peaking at 957, basically right before landfall, which is probably about 115, 120 miles an hour. And yeah, death once it moves inland. B doesn't do the Western Pacific, I forgot about that. ECMWF, they're at 974. Forecasting a peak of 961, which is stronger than that currently. And making landfall at 964, which is a category 2. Yeah, it just moves inland and dies. Satellite imagery. it looks pretty good, I'd say. The eye is poking out in the most recent frames, that's why we've given it 115 and we're not at 110. I'd say it looked its best in these earlier frames right here. I'd say probably that frame right there was when it looked its best. Yeah, then the eye collapsed a little bit from land interaction, but it's starting to come back. So, yeah, overall pretty good. Cloud tops aren't that high, really. Like, they're barely touching minus 70 there at the very highest. But, you know, low cloud top storms can still be dangerous. This storm, as I've reiterated several times, is very, very dangerous. And that's basically all I have to say. I don't know really else. I don't know how else to describe this thing other than the fact that it looks pretty good on satellite imagery, and it's continuing to strengthen. And there will be some major impacts, probably. 25 inches of rain, like I said, that's enough to cause extremely severe flash flooding. And yeah, the southern side of Hainan Island is getting blasted right now with those high winds. But that's about it for this update. Let's move on to the world tropics. Here's the global map. Tropical storm Fernand formed in the Atlantic yesterday, and that is not a threat to land at all. And Typhoon Kajiki is threatening Vietnam, like I've told you for the past 7 minutes, and the current global threat is at a 7, exclusively for Typhoon Kajiki. That's it for this update. Like, subscribe, and goodbye.